Well, congratulations, you've made it to the end. I salute you. Now let's do a quick summary of everything we've discussed up to this point. First of all, let's talk about this fictitious company I created, Maxo Plaxo. It was a printer company that has 3 products, the X1000, 2000, and 3000, which is their high-end product. Now, one of the things we talked about is make sure that our salespeople are trained. They have the right marketing materials, they're trained on the product, but more importantly, they have a sales process because we want to sell on value, not on price. Second, let's set realistic goals. Now, the company in this case was given a $35 to $40 million goal, which is about a 15% increase. Let's assume that's reasonable for that market segment. Now our job is to help our salespeople hit that $40 million number. Next, let's talk about data mining. Remember the example of me going back into last year's data to look at the product distribution, in other words, what was sold last year. And we found out that 30% of the sales came from the X1000, 60% came from the X2000, and 10% came from the X3000. Looking at last year's data provides a forward-looking indicator to what we might be able to sell this coming year. Again, we have to go from 35 to 40 million. Let's see how we can make that number up. But by using data from last year, we begin to understand what products we're going to be able to sell in what markets, and then we can kind of focus in on our accounts right there. Now, let's talk about product mix. Let's emphasize the fact that we just don't want people to sell the X1000. We want them to sell the 2000 and the 3000. We want them to sell the full portfolio. Now, this is always a challenge because salespeople typically like to stick with what they know. And when new products are introduced, they really don't want to sell those. So we'll talk about how do we incentivize people to sell newer products in just a bit. Let's talk about territory as well. Once we understand what the objective is, once we've trained them, they have the right products, they know what they have to do, let's talk about how the territory is cut up. And let's look at our region, our territories, and if we're happy with the distribution, the revenue distribution, in other words, the money we're getting from each of the territories, then leave it as it is. But let's ask ourselves some key questions. Is there more money to be had there? Can we sell more into those territories? If the answer is yes, let's now look at some key account planning formats. Remember this? You go into a territory and let's say it's underperforming. You believe that the total available market is this big and the percentage you should have is this big. In other words, the territory is underperforming. So at this point, you want to sit down, assuming you have enough salespeople, you want to sit down with your salespeople individually and let's say, hey, let's do some key account planning. Let's take your top 10 customers and let's look at what we've sold them in the past. How many X1000s, 2000, and 3000? Let's look for holes. Let's look for opportunities to upsell them, moving them from the 1000 to the 2000. Get the idea? So key account planning is key. Last but not least is once the territories are set, once the key account planning sessions are set, we want to talk about incentives. How do we keep this team motivated? How do we keep them moving forward? Well, again, we looked at several things. The first one was sales engagement. Sales engagement is key. We really want to know how many people are hitting the 100% quota number. Now, when we assign them a quota, we expect them to hit 100%, but not all of them do. So then let's look at last year's data. Let's look at how many people hit it only up to 75%, only hit it up to 90%, and then let's look at how many people actually hit the 100%. Now, obviously, the objective here, without stating the obvious, let me state it, is that we want to get everybody to hit it 100%, right? We want to move those who were at 75% of quota last year, let's move them into the 100% range. If you were at 90%, let's move you into the 100% range. If you were 100%, let's move you into 120%. Get the idea? So what we want to do is make sure that everybody is hitting 100%. If not, let's look at why. Is it training? Is it key account planning? Is it materials, resources we need to provide? This is where you come in as a manager. Again, we can also look at average order size. This will tell us whether they're discounting the products too much. So maybe we can incentivize them by holding the line on pricing if they can stay within certain margins, okay? Also, let's talk about new accounts. Again, if they can bring on new accounts, that's wonderful. That's what we want. Let's give them some numbers to deal with new accounts. Get the idea? All this is wrapped up into one thing. How do we manage our sales force within a territory given products? This is not an easy thing to do. I've lived it, and I know it's not an easy thing to do. I hope this video series has given you some indication how you may be able to do it, or maybe given you some new ideas, some new thought processes on how you can actually increase the sales for your company. This is Victor Antonio. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And as always, remember, selling ain't hard when you know how. Thank you very much. Take care.
Every manager can feel it. The difference between a motivated, value-driven sales team and one that's stuck in a rut. CEOs know the difference too. They can see it clearly in the profit and loss columns. The question is, how do you get your team to this elite level? Is there something extra you can do to break through the remaining resistance and equip them with the right mindset to grow your business? Yes, there is. But you're not going to do it with one of those cheesy inspirational speakers or some self-proclaimed guru. What you need is someone with a real business track record to deliver key insights in a captivating way, to give your team the right tools for selling in today's tough marketplace. Enter Victor Antonio, experienced executive, innovative thinker, compelling speaker. He's ready to deliver the message you need your people to hear. Not with a canned speech, but a customized, dynamic keynote designed to deliver results. Bring Victor Antonio to your next event before the competition does. Go to www.victorantonio.com for more information.